Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
We're going to talk about some research today, and we've got this question. Why do so many marine animals end up stranded on beaches? That might be a question that a lot of people in Taiwan would be interested in knowing the answer to, because, of course, Taiwan is surrounded by the ocean. Although I haven't really heard any stories of marine animals being stranded on beaches like dolphins and whales and stuff like that. I haven't really heard that so much here in Taiwan, but it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen in other parts of the world. Every once in a while you hear a news report about, there were like 50 whales stranded on a beach in a certain part of the world. Yeah, that's kind of disturbing why so many animals just die like that.
Yeah, it is kind of strange. But I haven't read any stories, at least, that affected Taiwan, Taiwan's beaches where a big whale was stranded on the shore. I haven't seen that, but I have seen it in the news, and it makes me sad.
Well, I've seen dead pufferfish on the beaches here in Taiwan from time to time, but not in really big numbers. I think they get caught in fishing nets or things like that and get hauled ashore. But we're talking about natural causes here, and we don't really know why these animals do it.
Let's find out what our author found as Sam, our author, was trying to prepare this particular unit. So let's get going, guys. We're going to read through today's lesson. Every year, thousands of marine animals wash up on beaches all around the world. This bizarre phenomenon is known as beaching or stranding and can affect many kinds of marine life. However, it's something that is especially widespread among social animals, such as whales and dolphins. Beachings don't discriminate as they affect healthy, injured, and dead animals alike, and even impact entire collectives of animals in what are called mass strandings. While beachings are not abnormal, scientists don't yet know exactly why they happen. However, there's an assumption that some likely causes are natural. Coastal topography is a possibility, and beachings are common in places such as the Farewell Spit in New Zealand and the North Sea's coastlines. These are areas that are dangerous for whales because they are too shallow for them to safely navigate. To make matters worse, tide cycles can cause water to rapidly recede several kilometers, meaning that some unaware marine animals could get caught. Beachings can happen because a whale is sick, injured, old, lost, or unable to feed, too. And weakened animals may find themselves drifting until they land ashore. Also, animals escaping predators can accidentally get beached when they essentially run out of ocean to flee to. Human factors might include fishing and pollution that cause injury and death to marine life. Humans create a lot of noise pollution with the use of sound pulses from sonar devices. These can deafen and disorient whales and dolphins, altering their navigation capabilities. While tragically many animals die because of beachings, there is one silver lining. Beachings allow scientists to gain a better understanding of marine animals, which is especially useful for species that are difficult to study, including beaked whales. Looking at these animals can teach us not just about how they died, but also how they might have lived.
Okay, let's jump into our article now and explain things for you. We're beginning by asking a question here. Why are so many marine animals ending up stranded on beaches? And when you try to answer that question, you say, well, we're going to tell you why so many marine animals end up stranded on beaches. Okay, our author here is suggesting some reasons for this, although still, most people are not sure exactly why these animals do this. And if you're stranded someplace, you're kind of stuck there, and it's very difficult to get out of that place. We most often use this word when we talk about an island in the ocean. If you're sailing in a boat and you run into a storm and you get lost, and then you land on an island like Tom Hanks did in that movie. What was it called? cast away, I believe.
Away, yeah.
Exactly. So he was stranded on an island. He couldn't get off. And so here we're talking about animals ending up stranded on beaches. They're stuck there and they can't get back into the water, so they die.
Right. You can also be stranded if maybe your car doesn't work. Maybe you took your car to the department store and you went in to shop and you came back out and it wouldn't start. You're kind of stranded. So you have to call a friend or maybe someone in your family to pick you up. So yeah, getting stranded anywhere is no fun. Well, this bizarre, strange, crazy phenomenon that we're talking about, where these marine animals wash up on beaches, is called beaching or stranding. However, it says it's something that is especially widespread among social animals. Humans are social animals. You're meant to live with a group of people and to, talk to people and go play with people and work with people. We are social animals. People who are alone usually are very sad and end up dying early. Well, another type of social animal is a whale. And of course, we know dolphins love each other. But I also think that aren't penguins pretty social too?
Does seem like it. Yeah, they like to hang out with each other.
Yeah.
Lots of animals, of course, like to hang out in groups, in herds, or in pods of whales, or flocks of sheep. We have different words to describe groups of animals. If you do want to talk about whales, we can say a pod of whales. And this phenomenon, or this strange or bizarre phenomenon, is known as beaching or stranding and can affect many kinds of marine life. So that's what we call it when lots of whales or dolphins or whatever show up on a beach and they can't get back in the water and they probably die there. You can say that's beaching. That's a phenomenon when they do that. Or you could also call it stranding when they do that. That's a phenomenon or something that happens in the natural world.
Yeah, and it can affect many kinds of marine life. Marine, remember, just means something related to the sea. So marine life, marine animals. But sometimes we'll say, I'm going to the marina, which is an actual area that's close to the sea, and that's actually a noun. So, however, it says it's something that is especially widespread among social animals. We talked about what social means, right? People are social, whales, dolphins, penguins. So beachings don't discriminate. So it doesn't matter what kind of animal it is. It could be a healthy animal. It could be injured. It could even be dead and then be washed ashore. This beaching phenomenon or stranding is affecting entire collectives of animals in what are called mass strandings, where more than just one animal is stranded. There would be several. Now, collective is a word we use to talk about things that are done by a group or people acting like a group. You could say, well, a collective decision was made today at work, and we're all going to make Friday casual Friday, meaning you can wear casual clothes. A collective decision. There was a collective groan in the class when the teacher told the students they had extra homework. So it just means everyone in the class was groaning, or at least a big group or a large group is doing that. These are entire collectives or groups. That's just another easier word there. Groups of animals, but you will see collective.
Right, and when a lot of animals do this, they're called mass strandings, which could include maybe 10, 20, or even more whales or dolphins ending up on the beach. Some people try to push them back in the water, but those animals are awfully heavy, and usually they fail to do so.
Yeah.
And here in the next paragraph it says, while beachings are not abnormal, scientists don't yet know exactly why they happen. So we're saying they're not abnormal. That's kind of two negatives there. We're basically saying they are normal, basically. They're not abnormal, which means they're not rare. Okay, they do happen quite commonly in parts of the world, but scientists still don't know exactly why they happen. They're asking the question, hey, why does this happen? And if we know why it happens, maybe we can stop it. Or maybe we can just understand why it happens and not interfere with the way nature works or whatever. But in this particular case, yes, scientists just don't really know exactly why this happens.
However, it says there's an assumption that some likely causes are natural. If it's natural, it means it's not man-made or human-caused. It's something that happens because of nature, of course. And we can't control everything in this world as people, although some people believe we're able to control a lot more than we really are. Now, assumption just means something that's accepted as true or as certain that it's going to happen, but they really don't have any proof. So they assume. Assume is the verb form. There's a lot of assumptions out there that people can control the climate if we just stop eating beef and stop flying, that we can control the climate. I don't believe that. I think that we're less powerful than we want to believe as people. But I do believe that we do have power to protect our planet from being polluted and destroyed by garbage and other things that we see people do. Well, here's an assumption that maybe these beachings are happening because of nature. And here's some of the natural causes. There's coastal topography. If you've ever seen a topographical map? Is that what we studied in school?
Yep.
It would actually show you where there were mountains and rivers and where there were valleys, where the land would dip in. That's topography, what the land looks like. Well, the coasts along different parts of the earth, they're all different. Some are cliffs, some are just a lot of sand and beaches. The coastlines are different depending on where you're talking about. In England, they've got lots of the cliffs of Dover. They're very sharp and they drop off and that's it. But then you go to Taiwan and a lot of the beaches, there's just this long area of sand. So that's what we're talking about when we say coastal topography is a possibility.
Exactly. So just the characteristics of the land,
Right.
whether you have mountains or plains and things like that. And I think Google Maps has a feature that you click on one of those little squares. It will turn it into a topographical map.
Kind of cool.
Where you can see the elevations and stuff like that. If you're into mountain hiking or whatever. Okay, so that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break now and listen to our Chinese teacher.Hello
everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是4月24号 Unit 12 Why so many marine animals end up stranded on beaches 这个单元是文艺选填的练习题。从这篇文章里我们了解到人类的知识有限，面对鲸豚搁浅的现象，我们除了感到不舍，好像也一时间拿不出什么有效的方法来解决他们的困难。在主题解说前，老师要提醒大家，答题的时候先看看选项，把词性标示出来。当然，有一些单字词性不止一种，但是根据句子结构，可以判断这一题空格要填什么样词性的单字。到时候你再根据前后文来找正确的选项，会比较有效率哦。好，那我们现在就一起来解题吧。请看第一题，前文提到每年有成千上万的海洋动物会被冲上世界各地的海滩，这种怪异现象称之为 beaching 或者 stranding 搁浅，而且呢会影响到多种海洋生物。请直接看题干 However, it's something that 这个部分 it 代替前面的搁浅，而后面有个关系子句以 that 开头， that 代替 something 这件事同样指的搁浅，在群居动物当中尤其空格。好 especially 是副词，修饰形容词，我们要在选项里找出形容词，配合前后文。第一题正确答案是 D widespread， 意思就是搁浅在鲸鱼和海豚这类群居动物当中特别普遍。好，紧接着请看第二题，题干 beachings don't 这个部分，搁浅不会空格，因为受到影响的包括健康的、受伤的、死亡的，甚至会在所谓的集体搁浅中影响整个生物群体。助动词 don't 之后需要原形动词，再用前后文文意筛选，因此第二题正确答案是 H discriminate 区别 或有所差别。意思是搁浅发生的时候，这些对象是没有差别的。好，接着我们请看第3题。虽然搁浅并不空格这个部分，但科学家仍不清楚确切的发生原因。be 动词之后很有可能用形容词当主词补语。我们用前后文筛选，第3题正确答案是 G abnormal， 表示搁浅并不是不寻常的现象。不过科学家仍然不是十分确定发生的原因。接着第4题。海岸地形是空格，比方说在纽西兰的送别角以及大西洋北海的海岸线很常发生搁浅。空格前是单数名词搭配的不定冠词，所以要在选项里找一个单数名词，再以文意确认。所以第4题答案选 F possibility， 表示鲸豚搁浅的成因当中，海岸地形是一种可能。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about kind of a bizarre phenomenon, something that's strange is happening in our world out there. And we're talking about it, at least for today, and it's why some marine animals are ending up stranded or beached on the beaches around the world. And we've talked about how it happens a lot more to social animals that live in big groups.Like whales and dolphins, they're social. And beachings don't just affect those that are unhealthy or not doing well or injured. Maybe a fisherman or a ship was trying to hunt something and just wounded it but weren't able to actually collect that animal. No, some of these beached animals are actually healthy, which is kind of strange. And you wonder how they got stranded up on the beach. I do. When you see these stories, I always think, oh my goodness, how did they end up there?Exactly.
And of course, we have an assumption within the scientific community that some likely causes are natural. Maybe there are artificial causes, but they're thinking that some causes are natural. We mentioned coastal topography as a possibility. And we also mentioned that these beachings or these strandings are common in places such as the Farewell Spit in New Zealand. I guess that's a kind of beach down in New Zealand. And the North Sea's coastline.The North Sea, of course, is the body of water that is directly east of the UK, between the UK and Scandinavia there. That's the North Sea. So I guess this happens on the coastlines in that part of the world and down in New Zealand as well as other parts. So I guess they kind of have to examine those areas and see what they have in common. Why does it happen here? Does it have to do with coastal topography? Does it have to do with the kind of sand there are on the beaches or the kind of water or the presence of underwater trenches or things like that? They're probably looking at any possibility.
Now, these areas that our author and Tom both mentioned, Farewell Spit in New Zealand and the North Sea's coastlines, these are areas that are dangerous for whales because they are too shallow for them to safely navigate.Whales are huge animals, and they need a lot of room and water in order to swim around. So if you navigate, it just means how you get from one place to another, right? We use navigate when we're talking about our GPS in our cars, right? That's a navigation system. Helps us go from where we are to our destination in usually the best possible route. Not always, but usually. So if you navigate somewhere, you can navigate a ship, right? You can navigate. We usually don't talk about navigating a plane, though. We just fly airplanes. But here we're saying it's hard for these whales to go from one place to another if the water that they're traveling in is too shallow. Shallow means there's not much depth there. So if you're learning how to swim, you usually want to go into the shallow end of the pool first before you go to the deep end because you can stand in the shallow end and not feel like you're drowning as you learn.
Right, shallow and deep, they're opposites there.
Yeah.
And so they can't navigate these shallow areas. And to make matters worse, what's even worse is tide cycles can cause water to rapidly recede several kilometers, meaning that some unaware marine animals could get caught. So, of course, we have the tides. When they come in, of course, the water is higher, and when the tide goes out, the water is lower. And sometimes the tide can go out rather quickly. The water recedes rather fast, rather quickly, and they can recede several kilometers. Recede just means to go back. Like if you're a man and you're going bald, you can talk about your receding hairline, whereas you just keep getting more and more bald. The hair keeps falling out as you go farther up the head there. That's happening to me, of course, has for several years. But in any case, the water can recede several kilometers, and those whales and those dolphins will get caught. They'll get stuck, and they can't get out to the open water.
Yeah, it's so sad. Beachings can happen because a whale is sick, injured, old, lost, or unable to feed. So these can happen as well. Not just the healthy, but I would assume that beachings would happen more with whales that are having problems like these. Weakened animals, they just might find themselves being able to swim, and they drift into the land ashore. So actually the waves push them onto the beach if they're too weak to swim against those waves. Also, animals sometimes are just running away from predators, other animals who are hunting after them to eat them. So as they escape their predators, they can accidentally get beached because they run out of ocean. So if you run out of ocean to flee to, it just means that's the end of the ocean. There's no more. So you end up on the beach at that point. You can run out of a lot of stuff. You can run out of gas. You can run out of milk. You can run out of money. It just means your supply is depleted. There's no longer anything left. You can run out of patience, where someone's driving you nuts and you want to scream at them. You can run out of a lot of things. So this is a very important verb phrase you should learn.
Right, they no longer can swim. They just end up on the beach because they're trying to get away from a predator who's trying to kill them. And human factors might include fishing and pollution that cause injury and death to marine life. We all know that humans do have a certain amount of effect on the oceans. We're dumping a lot of plastic in the oceans all the time. And fishing might be a problem. Maybe we're catching too many fish. And also we pollute the heck out of the ocean, dumping all sorts of waste products into the ocean. That could cause some problems. It can cause injury and death to marine animals.
Yeah, when I first saw some of these beachings, I thought it was probably because of all the pollution in the ocean. But now I'm learning that even healthy whales can actually be caught up in this situation. So there could be human factors, of course. We create a ton of pollution, but there's also something called noise pollution. If you've ever lived in a big city like New York, you know what noise pollution means. It's so loud outside, it's hard to sleep. So this can actually affect these marine animals. There are sound pulses from something called a sonar device that we put into the water. Our submarines use them. We use them for scientific studies. A pulse is just sort of a beat, right? We use pulse a lot when we talk about our heart. Your pulse is how fast your heart is beating. These pulses are just periodic sounds that come out from these devices, and it's usually scientists that have placed them in the water.
You could call them rhythms as well, and these are sonar devices that send sound waves to the bottom to find out how deep the ocean is, etc.
Helps with earthquakes, too, predicting them.
Okay, and these can deafen and disorient whales and dolphins, altering their navigation capabilities.
Right.
So if you deafen something, you make it not able to hear very well. And to disorient means that you make something not know where it is and where it's going. Oftentimes, if you're lost, you could say, I'm disoriented. I don't know which end is up and which end is down, which way is north and which way is south. I'm disoriented. And this will alter their navigation capabilities. To alter just means to change. And yes, indeed, they won't be able to swim through the ocean like they did before. Your capability is your ability to do something.
Yeah, power, ability that you're born with and that you can learn as well, right? Things you're able to do. Well, tragically, many animals die because of beachings. There is one silver lining. A silver lining is one good thing that comes out from a tragic situation or a situation that's not good. One silver lining of losing your job is that you have time to look out there and see if there's anything else you'd prefer to do that would make you happier than your last job. But yeah, what's the silver lining? Well, beachings allow scientists to gain a better understanding of marine animals. They can study them more closely, especially those that are hard or difficult to study because they're just too far away or maybe they swim too far underwater. One of these animals we're talking about that are difficult to study are called beaked whales. Look those up. It's an interesting animal. Looking at these animals can teach us not just about how they died, but also how they might have lived. And so it does help our scientific knowledge expand.
Right, we should take advantage of that while we can. Of course, we do want to solve the problem of these beachings and stop it. But in the meantime, we can learn some things from those dead bodies on the beach. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
同样第二段 These are areas that 这个部分这些区域对鲸鱼来说是危险的，因为海水太浅了，让它们无法安全前行。紧接着是第5题，更糟的是潮汐循环会导致海水空格后退数公里，这意味着一些未及时察觉的海洋动物可能会受困。Cause 是造成的意思 ，cause something to 加原形动词，而这里的不定词就是 recede 倒退。动词 recede 前面只能够找副词修饰。第5题选 I rapidly 迅速的。再来，请看第6题。搁浅会因为鲸鱼生病、受伤、年老、迷路或无法进食而发生，而虚弱的鲸鱼可能会发现自己空格，直到最终着陆。请看到空格前 find 这个动词 ，find 的用法其实是加了受词，再加受词补语。这个受词补语可是形容词或者 VING 或过去分词，就表示发现自己是处于什么样子的状态。因此呢，第6题我们选 A。Drifting 漂流，意思是鲸鱼虚弱无力，可能会一路漂流，直到在海岸上着陆为止。接着请看第7题，第7题前面是不定词 to， 我们需要原形动词，再用文意筛选，所以第7题答案选 E flee 逃离，表示鲸豚类被掠食者追杀时，在海里无路可逃，可能会意外搁浅。接着请看第8题，第8题在助动词 can 之后，所以我们要找原形动词，再用文意筛选，因此第8题答案选 J deafen， 也就是让什么人听不见。人类在海洋当中使用声呐设备，会让鲸豚听不见。紧接着请看第9题，那这个句子用 while 连接2个子句，有语气上的转折。后面子句表示正面讯息，前面的子句是坏消息，因此第9题答案选 C tragically， 表示虽然鲸豚搁浅而死这件事情相当不幸，不过还是有正面的消息。最后是第10题，前面有不定冠词 a， 应填可数单数名词，当作 gain 这个动词的受词。那空格本句、后半句还有下一句呢，分别提到了搁浅对海洋动物研究的价值。人类可以因此知道鲸豚在生前到底有哪些活动。由此可知，搁浅会让科学家更加了解海洋动物。所以第10题选 B understanding。以上就是我们针对文意选填所做的解题讲解，谢谢大家。
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Please join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.